Call to order this August 1st, 2024 meeting of Topsham Select Board being held in Donald A. Russell Meeting Room. Please rise to pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag, States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Can you call the roll, please?
Roland Tufts.
Here.
Brilliant. Here. Ann Callahan. Here. Ryan Holmes.
Here.
And Matt Nixon has been excused.
Here. Town manager.
Good evening, everyone. The Maine Department of Transportation reports that the Frank J. Wood Bridge replacement is still on schedule to open in October of 2025, with expected completion in August of 2027. This coming Tuesday, our public safety departments, rec department, and the library will be holding National Night Out at the Forsyth Field from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. There's music, food, bouncy houses, and canine demonstrations. Our police chief says that for the right donation, he might get it even in the bouncy house for us. Nomination papers available for the November 5th elections, 3 Topsham seats on the MSAD 75 Board of Directors, and 1 Select Board seat are up for election. Papers must be back by September 6th at 3:00 p.m. The Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee is continuing to host coffee with recode sessions to answer questions and share information about the recode effort. Upcoming dates are on the town website. Public Works and Purpose Construction continue to make headway on the paving backlog. Garden Drive, Garden Lane, and Mill Road have all been paved, and they expect to finish Ider Lane and Bay Park Drive this week. Finally, a thank you to Central Maine Power for assisting the removal of a 70-foot elm tree on Elm Street, which had been damaged in the spring storm and was at risk of coming down in a future storm. They partnered with our Public Works Department to get the tree down. And I shouldn't have said finally then, but finally, my real final thank you is to our 3 Bowdoin interns that we're going to be hearing from shortly. They're probably the hardest working ones we've had yet, not that we've ever been disappointed. But the staff has thoroughly enjoyed them all summer. They bring a sense of youthful enthusiasm and dedication that we've enjoyed. So we're looking forward to hearing from them in a few minutes.
Any questions? Next up, boards and committee reports. Update from the Safety Committee, Maine BLS Shape Award. Crystal Block, Fire Chief and Safety Committee.
Good evening. One of my roles is this on? There we go. One of my roles is Safety Committee Chair. And when I first started here, it was 7 years ago, one of the bucket list items was to get this Shape Award. Put off to the side, put off to the side, put off the side. Well, I finally tackled it, and I have Mary Matthews and Steve Greeley here to kind of explain what the award is, how you get it, what it does. And present the award.
Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome.
I always forget my glasses, so bear with me with the flash one here. As Chief mentioned, my name is Stephen Greeley. I'm the Director of Workplace Safety and Health with the Maine Department of Labor. And I'm pleased to be here tonight to recognize Topsham Fire and Rescue Department as the newest SHAPE site in the state of Maine. Safety and Health Award for Public Employers, SHAPE, recognizes employers who operate an exemplary safety and health management system. Acceptance in the SHAPE is an achievement of status that will single you out as the best of the best in workplace safety and health. Upon receiving SHAPE recognition, your workplace will be exempt from BLS program inspections for the next 2 years. Safety Works is a consultation program, but we're also the OSHA, for lack of a better term, for state and local government. So by being in this program, it actually exempts fire department, not the whole town. We'll still show up and do the BLS, we're here to inspect, but the fire department will get inspected. The reason for that is they're working with us. We know they have the programs in place. We know they have the training done and so on. They're not having injuries. So our inspectors' time can be spent better elsewhere. So again, it will exempt you for the 2 years that you're in the program. To participate in SHAPE, you must request a consultation visit that involves a complete safety and health hazard identification survey. Involve your employees in the consultation process. Correct all hazards identified by the consultant. Implement and or maintain a safety and health management system, and have injury and illness rates that are below the state average for your industry classification. The Topsham Fire and Rescue Department is one of 88 locations in the state of Maine to receive this award, of which 43 are fire departments. Now, on behalf of Governor Janet Mills, Commissioner Laura Fortman, and the Maine Department of Labor, it's my pleasure to present you with this award. Yeah, whatever works best for you on that. You want to get, yeah, usually we'll do like. And I always feel a little guilty when I get to this point, because I know how much work goes into putting the programs and stuff in place. And as you'll see, Chief, we'll have the 24 date and it's the 26th, but you'll see these little plates down at the bottom. And that's for renewal. Nothing would make us happier than to keep giving you a plate, you know, every few years, continuing this on. One of the things that, where the fire department is part of Maine Municipal, they'll actually now be getting a reduction in their workers' comp. And they actually give a bigger reduction if the whole town goes shape. So, you know, something to, I guess, to have on your back burner or your bucket list, whatever. But it'd be great to come back here and recognize the whole town at a later date. So again, congratulations, Chief.
Congratulations. Next, we have an update from the Bowdoin College interns and summer projects.
Everyone see okay? Okay. Thank you, Select Board, for letting me come before you tonight. My name is Izzy Gale. I am a Bowdoin College senior. I'm studying environmental studies and history, minoring in urban studies. I'm interning with the Topsham Planning Department this year, and I'm really interested in urban planning and design as a career. So this has truly been an amazing summer, and I'm very excited to talk to you about my passion project this summer. As we all know, the transfer station here in Topsham is truly an incredible place. Aside from being a solid waste facility, it is also a center for community gathering. There are a multitude of recreational sites there besides the typical operations. As we know, there is the canine training area, police shooting range, a lot of ATV trails, bike trails, and also the 2 ponds for which you can fish in, and of course, the pond track. On the site, there are 3 landfills, 2 of which I would like to talk to you about today. One is a 10-acre. This is the one that's right outside the parking lot where you see every day or whenever you come through. And this is primarily a trash landfill. The second one is in the back. You have to take the back road out towards the compost area. This is a 6-acre landfill that was filled with paper mill sludge. Both landfills were closed in 1994 by the Maine Department of Environmental Protection as part of the landfill closure and remediation program. They were capped in 1996. By capped, I mean that they were sealed with clay. This is not a diagram of how our landfill works. This is just for general reference. This is a bit more modern than what was going on in 1996. But in essence, you have your waste on the bottom, and at Topsham, it is capped by 2 feet of compact clay, and 18 inches of a combination of sand, loam, and nitrogen. And then, of course, there's the grass on top. In essence, the waste and the sludge is not moving. It is not going anywhere. It is not out and open in the public. It is covered by grass. And unless you knew that this was there, you might not even think anything of it except, oh, what a nice verdant field. However, there is PFAS contamination at these sites. I'm sure you've all heard a little something about PFAS in the last couple of years, is really blown up in Maine. Essentially, PFAS are per and polyfluoral alkyl substances, which are essentially chemicals that are used in manufacturing products that are water, heat, oil, or stain repellent. So, raincoats, also firefighting foam, a lot of the products you can see up in this diagram. They're known as forever chemicals because they degrade very slowly in the environment and they persist for thousands of years. They do not just go away. Once they enter the environment, they're there forever. Forever chemical. They also can accumulate in human and animal fatty tissue. Unfortunate reality is we all have PFAS in us today, and at low level exposure for long periods of time, they can cause adverse health impacts. So essentially, this is land that is seen by the public weekly. It's beautiful. And because of that clay cap, we cannot develop it at all. Really, there's no use to it. It's just sitting there. And you all know Ed Karen, he likes to do a lot of stuff around there. So during our tour, I felt very inspired by everything else he had done at this site. And I really wanted to do something with this land. So what I'm proposing and what my research for the last month has been culminating to is a pollinator park on the 10-acre lot. In my perfect world, both of them, but realistically the 10-acre one. And possibly mowing some pedestrian trails through the middle to provide public access for recreational purposes. And of course, pollinator sport and ecological benefit. With this, it's just to say pollinators are very important, as we know. I'm sure I don't need to explain that to you all. But it's always good to have more biodiversity in an already grassy field, which is predominantly hay. There's a multitude of native species there already, but adding more with some wild seed mixes and more native plants would increase biodiversity so that beneficial insects, small mammals, birds, and other pollinators can seek refuge and haven in this area where we really can't do anything else with this land. This is my tentative site plan. This is the 9-acre lot. This is the 6-acre lot. This is Murder Road and Forsyth Road and Townsend Way, just to bring it to you. And here's a zoomed in version of it so you can see it a little more clearly. Logistically, this project could go really to any scale the town would like it to. If you were to do just the 10-acre lot, it would be around $10,500, depending on what seed mix you use. I have a pretty large cost analysis, which I can get into if anyone is curious. I also have found a non-match grant opportunity that is between $500 and $3,000 from the Maine Bee Wellness, and they have expressed interest in helping us. And of course, this could be done in phases too. It does not have to be the whole 9 acres at once. It could also be done in strips, or you could mow the paths and do plants along the paths. It could really be up to the town's discretion what scale you would like to take it to. Timeline, it would be seeding in the fall. And again, it doesn't have to be this fall. It could be whenever the town would like to take it side to. And then seeding once more in the fall and spring just to boost what's there. Meadow growth would take probably around 3 years before it looks complete. As for installation, in Harpswell, they've done a very similar project on their landfill, and they said that they mowed down the grass to the shortest possible level and seeded it by hand. Otherwise, we could till it up to 3 inches and seed by hand. Maintenance is pretty simple. It needs to be mowed twice annually to ensure that there is no tree growth that would disturb the Catholic roots. Other than that, it would just be mowing the paths bi-weekly, as in every 2 weeks, just to ensure that they still exist, and then reseeding every 5 years. Ultimately, I think that this project offers a really nice, feel-good solution to an area that is already beautiful, but really cannot have any sort of development on it. And I think it ties into the recreational and very DIY personal feel that the transfer station has already. I think providing more outdoor tourism would really benefit Topsom, as it is such a beautiful town and I've enjoyed my time here so much. And I think that it could be done again at any scale, any cost that the town would like to, and it would not be super challenging. Any questions I can answer?
Did you say that you were looking to plant native plants?
Yes, sir. And wildflowers.
What examples? Species you would plant?
So all of the species, they would not be chosen by me. They would be within a seed mix, but the seed mix is guaranteed to be native and, natural to New England. But if you would like to know, there are a lot of native species already there. Off the top of my head, there's a variety of goldenrods, there's milkweed, steeple bush, I think it's called. But yeah, it's really quite impressive. When I went there for a second time and took a look at everything, there's a lot of native plants already there, which really further supports my hope that this would be a nice site for more additional, that I would be happy and healthy there.
Great, thank you.
Do you say the whole area would have to be mowed twice a year?
The acre, yes, not the entire site, but the site, the landfill sites, it's already being mowed twice a year.
Right.
Because again, the roots cannot grow into the cap because that would disturb.
How would that affect the wildflowers and everything that you planted? So,
Well, because they all kind of die in the winter anyway, it doesn't necessarily like kill them earlier. This is what the Harpswell landfill does as well. It's fine to mow them. They'll always come back. They're perennials.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it gets ready for the board's benefit. We start out the interns with 2 weeks of called department tours. And they'll spend like an afternoon with the police department or morning with public works, and they get to see what the different departments do, how they do it. Then we also work with some related entities, like for instance, this year, we were able to set up a tour of Maine, which is a facility that we may be getting a bid from in the fall to handle, when we put out our bids for our trash and things. So some, Ed planning went down with us, we went down to see the Echo Maine thing, a little more about their facility. They also went to see Two Bridges Jail. And then after their tours, we give them a list of projects that we think would benefit the town, and let them choose what they want to work. And you'll see as you go through the projects, there's a wide variety of ones they chose.
Yeah.
With that said, actually, it's all yours.
Yeah, and they were a lot of fun, just remote. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ashley. I'm a member of the Bowdoin College class of 2026, so I will be a junior this fall, and I am a government and legal studies major and an economics minor. So this is a quick overview of some of the projects I worked on this summer. The first bullet point is in bold because that's what I will be primarily focusing my presentation on tonight. I conducted a comparative wage and benefit study for the police and fire departments. In addition to that, I've also been working alongside Ricky, completing tourism booster projects for the town. So one of those was updating the town website to include a Visit Topsom page where we photographed all the noteworthy sites around town that I'm sure you all know and love, and we created short biographies for them. And I also worked with Ricky to create a short tourism video. It's not complete yet, we're still working on it. We have some footage we need to get, but we hope that at the end of next week, when our internship is done, you'll go ahead and watch it on the website. So jumping into the wage study, a brief overview. The problem we have at hand is the fact that the police and fire departments, they're committed to supporting their employees. And upcoming in the fall time, we have contract and wage negotiations to consider. So they're asking the question, what can we do to attract new talent and what can we do to retain our staff? So the way I helped out, I collected and read contracts and pay scales for police and fire departments across Maine. The municipalities that we chose, these were all towns with populations between 6,000 and 40,000 residents. We chose towns both north and south of Topsham. We defined what a local town is in the study as being within a 10-mile radius from Topsham, and a distant municipality is within a 30-mile radius. So we chose this range generally so we're not looking at towns who are super up north of Maine. We're not necessarily competing with them for employees. They definitely have different costs of living and all these different variables. So we wanted to make sure that the data that we're looking at, we can compare to Topsham and make accurate reflections. In addition, we chose police departments with less than 60 law enforcement officers. Topsham usually around 15, so we don't want to be comparing ourselves to a place like Lewiston with 80 officers because that's just not a fair comparison. For fire departments, we looked at departments with similar call volumes, so less than 8,000 calls a year, again within a 30-mile radius, just so we're making fair comparisons. So these are the municipalities that were chosen for each of the studies, police on the left and fire on the right. In red, we have Freeport and Yarmouth for the fire departments. Of note, we weren't able to get the pay scales for these municipalities because they're currently in contract renegotiation and they haven't been able to come to a conclusion. So we don't have wage data for those, but I was able to reach out to the town manager and get their current benefit structure. So what they're doing for health insurance, the retirement plans, because those usually are a little bit more consistent. So we were able to get that. And I also include Casco ambulances just for comparison, because they are a private entity EMS corporation that has been known to kind of also employ some of Topsham's per diem firefighters. So it's also an interesting aspect to look at. What are they paying? Are they possibly attracting some of our staff? In terms of data collection, I made 2 large format Excel spreadsheets and I tracked all of the following variables: the hourly wage at each year of employment up to year 21 of an officer's career. After that, most municipalities don't adjust any of their longevity pay, so they kind of stop. That's kind of what you cap out at generally. So we just went up to year 21. I also looked at employee share of medical and dental insurance, the retirement plans offered, vacation time, sick time. I took note of any other bonuses or noteworthy benefits. This included things like, do you get reimbursed for your college tuition or classes that you take outside of work? Is there a vision plan that you're being supported with? Are there fitness bonuses? Or do you have a specific skill and are you paid for that? For the police department, these variables were tracked across 3 positions. These are sergeant, detective, and patrol positions, and I looked at those positions across different educational levels. So if you didn't have a college degree, how much were you making? If you had an associate's degree, how much were you making? If you had a bachelor's degree, what were you making? Intentionally, our like higher up positions, for example, the police chief, those weren't included in the study. They're under a different contract. So for simplicity's sake, we're looking at the kind of our 3 base positions right there. And for fire, similarly, I looked at firefighter positions, both full-time and per diem, lieutenant and captain positions. And instead of educational level, I looked at EMS certification. So if you have an EMT basic, advanced, or paramedic license, what are you paid? This is a quick snapshot of what part of the Excel spreadsheet looks like. This goes on for kind of hundreds of columns, so didn't really include all of that. But at the end of next week, I'm turning all of the data into graphs and kind of summaries. So you'll get 2 reports and additionally access to the Excel spreadsheets to be edited to look at every single value that you would wish to. You'll have access to those next week, but this is just a quick glimpse of what it looks like. So you can see I have all the different years of employment, different municipalities, their college level positions, averages, the difference between the average and Topsham, the percent differences are all in different colors. So that was for police. This is an example of the fire department model. It pretty much follows the exact same system, but as you can see, it's broken up into EMS degree opposed to college degree. Additionally, as I mentioned, I looked at benefits outside of just wages, and this is an example of how I tracked some. So on the left is just what compiled all the different really unique stipends or bonuses that employers are offering to their employees. And on the right, this is how I tracked all of the different healthcare and dental premiums and retirement plans for different towns. So let's look at some results. Overall, we can say that Topsham has competitive hourly detective wages, both locally and compared to the more distant municipalities. The only time where we see a little bit of a drop off is compared to the distant municipalities. Around year 11 of employment, we start to fall below average. So that's a longevity thing. But we also really aren't employing detectives right now who have like 21 years of service or something. They're usually at that lower end of the scale. So that's not necessarily something that's affecting us right now. Secondly, our sergeant pay is frequently below average, fluctuating a little bit from year to year. And that's compared to both local and distant municipalities. And the disparity actually becomes greater for college educated officers. And this is a trend that I noticed kind of throughout a lot of the police data. So if you have a college degree, you're like making less compared to if you worked at a different municipality than if you didn't have a college degree and you're working for Topsham. So that might be something to do with the educational stipends. Most municipalities are offering like, let's say, plus 70 cents or something to your base pay if you have an associate's degree. We offer something like that. Maybe this means we go back and we look at what exactly are we doing for that. Maybe is that something we want to adjust. Our third finding was that patrol pay is also below average, and this is across all years of employment and all educational levels relative to local and distant municipalities. This disparity also grows at the educational level, and it also seems to move with longevity. So over the course of your career in those later years, it seems that the percent difference between Topsham and the average is kind of growing a little bit. So that might have to do with the step system you have, like at what point in your career do you start to make a little bit more money? When does that happen and how much it is? That might be something to look at. Our fourth finding was that Topsham offers very competitive health and dental insurance. Really great and exciting finding. Also, our vacation time, retirement plan, and sick time benefits are comparable to other municipalities, if not better. And again, fifth finding, reiterate that a lot of this seems to stem from the different step schedules and like the longevity problem a little bit, and also maybe like the education realm. That could be something to look at. This is an example of one of the graphs from the like write-up that I'm doing. This is patrol pay in distant towns for an officer without college, and Topsham is in the bright red, and you can see the wages over the course of an officer's career if they served in that position up to 21 years. You can see that it is a bit below average pretty much at every point in the career. And then this is the same except for the local towns instead, just more local municipalities, and we see similar trends with Topsham being a little bit below average pretty much across the entire timeline. Again, all of these will be turned into graphs and sent with the report at the end of next week. But I'd like to highlight our competitive health insurance here through this graph. Topsham is highlighted in red, and this is the employee share of medical insurance. So what like percentage of the premium they're asked to pay when they're going to the doctors. So that lower bar is actually very good. Topsham's at 15%. You can see that a lot of other municipalities who are perhaps paying their officers more in hourly wages aren't covering as much of the medical insurance for their employees. So that kind of suggests that maybe that need to possibly increase wages or look at longevity or education is kind of offset a little bit by the fact that we are offering very competitive health and dental programs. A lot of municipalities that I read contracts for actually did not even have like a specific, oh, we're going to cover this percentage of your dental insurance, which makes us think that they actually don't even have that benefit. And the fact that Topsham's premium is only 15% for employees is quite good. And in terms of results for the fire department study, as I said, we saw a lot of similar trends with longevity and such. I'd like to point out that pay for firefighters is generally below average, and the wage disparity is greatest amongst employees with EMT basic licenses and lowest for paramedics. Wages also become less competitive over time, so that longevity factor. Lieutenant pay is also generally below average, and wages follow the same pattern as firefighters with longevity. But captain pay is generally considered to be competitive across all years and license levels. Per diem pay does not offer a specific step schedule, so like with PD and a lot of the fire positions we see, after you serve for X amount of years, you're seeing this pay increase. Our per diem pay schedule isn't quite like that. For other municipalities, it is, and they do have like a pay step schedule. So that's something to be thinking about. Also of note was the fact that Casco ambulances, though they do not have benefits that Topsom does, they are paying hourly quite more than us. So it's possible maybe that's why we might see per diem employees being inclined to maybe work in a position like that. So something to consider. But also, again, just like police, Topsom has very solid benefits that you get from working with us. So health and dental and retirement benefits are competitive. And our vacation time and sick time is comparable, if not better, than all other municipalities. And I'd like to say a few quick thank yous. Thank you to the select board for your time tonight. To Mark and Jeff, thank you for being incredible bosses and for answering all 1 million of my questions I had about contracts this summer. They're very hard to read. To everyone at the planning department, thank you for bringing so much joy to the office. To Rose, thank you for being endlessly kind. To all the department heads, thank you for giving us incredibly enlightened tours. To Wendy, thank you for being an excellent supervisor and for coming all the way up to Topsom to support us tonight. And thank you to Izzy and Ricky for being great carpool buddies. Thanks. I'm also happy to answer questions if anyone has any.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the wage study, were you able to, the other towns you surveyed, were you able to find out if they had recently renegotiated their contract? So you basically have some type of what's called index to say recency versus.
Yeah, that's a great question. That's all noted at the bottom of the spreadsheet. I have noted exactly what pay scale we're referring to. So for the most part, if we were comparing to fiscal year 2025, which is what we're in, to other municipalities, fiscal year 2025, I think there was one instance with the Freeport police officers where, because they are also finishing up a contract, we are looking at fiscal year 24. So that's something that would need to be updated once those come out, but that's all noted in the spreadsheet. Also noted is when the municipality will make cost of living adjustments to their wage. So if we wanted to look at this, say some might update their COLA like next July, we know that they're gonna increase by 4%. So you can kind of like plot it all in the future too.
Were you able to put a dollar value to some of the benefits relative to how it impacts the overall compensation?
Not dollar values.
The health insurance is the same for everyone.
There's choices in plans. There's some that are, ours has a relatively high deductible. We have an HRA, the town also pays 85%. Makes it just about the same as if you have low deductible. But there's some point of service plans that don't have deductibles, like Brunswick uses, for instance.
Great job.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Srithmukha Karnadharu, but I go by Ricky. I am a Bowdoin College intern, Maine government fellow, work for the town of Topsham, had a great time. I'm an economics and theater major and a government minor, and I'm a rising junior, just like. I had a great time this summer. I came in wanting to learn more about local government. This was more of a comparative experience for me because I'm an international student, and I learned a lot about how American local government works and what kind of thoughts and discussions go into policymaking. And the projects I chose to work on also gave me a lot of insight in those very avenues, and I was very glad that I got to work on them. It's a little less technical, but I feel like They'll benefit the town in the long run, and I hope, I've done justice to it. The first project that I took on was a database on studies that were conducted in the town since the year 2000. This came up, when I attended a conversation with, Topsham Development Inc. And they were talking about expanding water and sewer. The issue that we're trying to solve with this problem is that we have all these things that the town is concerned about. We're constantly having conversations about it. And in the past, we've had all these experts come on board and give us expert insights and advice on how to go about these things, but they end up being in big reports and we don't really have access to it because it's complicated, big and thick. So we use this experience to kind of summarize all the key information and put it in one place so that whenever you have a discussion that you want to have about something, you can just go onto this tool and reference whatever information exists and use that in your conversations. So the objective for this project was simple. We want to get all the key information into one place and make it as easy as possible to look up whatever you need to know and get the most valuable information for policymaking or whatever brainstorming discussions that we're going to go into. Process-wise, I looked up all the studies that I could find, physical and digital, from the year 2000. There weren't a ton, but it was quite a significant amount, and the studies were like 70 pages long. Some of them had executive summaries, so that made my life a little easier. I read and extracted all the key information. I'm not an engineer, but I tried my best. TDI will be looking over the project as well and giving me advice on how to alter it. I will be linking the studies to the Excel as well, so that way, if you feel like you need to read it more extensively, it's just right there in front of you. Yeah, and in terms of the breakdown, which I'll go to when I show you what the Excel looks like, I broke it down to the title, when it was done, who wrote it, what the key findings were, what the summaries are, and keywords, because not everything can be involved could be input into the summary and key findings. So if you find a keyword, that's something that comes up in the study, so it would incline you to read it. A broad generalization that I can make like an overview. There were like 11 studies done on infrastructure and utilities, 10 on quality of life, 9 on environment, 7 on transportation, and 2 on economic development. So something to think about. I'll show you what the Excel looks like and how you can use it when you are in discussion. Once you open the Excel, you just need to, it's like a keyword search, nothing too complicated. Command G, work please, thank you. So my go-to example is including bus, and then you can see how many places the word bus pops up in the database, and then you go and look at and you can read that study and see what information you have. If you have any words you want me to look up, I'm happy to put them on and show you. But this is kind of what it looks like. Some of it's really long. The climate action one has a lot of recommendations. So I thought, you know what, it's best to put that all in there so you can read it without having to go into like a large document to see it all. But that's kind of what that looks like. The next project I worked on was drafting a workable template for the town's capital improvement plan. If for folks who don't know what a capital improvement plan is, a CPI is it's how do you affirm it? It's a concept that we use to make managing government resources more stable, because governments are funded by taxpayers and we want to make the tax burden as stable and light as possible. And governments are very expensive and you have to make sure that you keep up to date and you do all things necessary to provide residents with the most excellent service. And you have to plan out how you spend this money, because some equipment is really expensive. And if you come up next year and you're like, oh, I got to buy something that's $360,000, that's going to nudge up all the taxes and it's going to drive a lot of people insane. I had the reference of the former town manager's template, and while it had some things that I needed to work on, it gave me a lot of the information that I needed to make this new document. So the problem we're trying to answer through this project is we need a good CIP, a template that the government can work on. I didn't plan it or anything. I'm just giving you guys a suggestion to look at and kind of work on moving forward, because there's a lot of discussions that need to take place. I'm trying to consolidate as much data as possible so you guys don't have to do that. But there are still a lot of conversations that need to go into it. Objective, drafting a capital improvement plan that suits the town of Topsham. What did I do to come up with something that suits town of Topsham? I looked at a couple of examples from different places. I looked at the one from Brunswick, I looked at the one from Lewiston, and I looked at one from Sherwood, Oregon for some reason because it looked nice. And I also looked at some presentations that were done by senior rural development specialists just to kind of help me because this was an alien concept to me. But I think it's really fascinating, and I think private businesses are doing it too. Hoping to do that when I start. Maybe. Anyway, what did I have to do in terms of process? I had to speak to all the department heads, gather information on what their inventory looks like, what it costs, what the estimated costs look like. And also I needed to ask them what new equipment that we need to buy. And I needed to consolidate all the information on the developments that the government is currently thinking about and all the maintenances that is ongoing and needs to be added to the CIP. I am yet to CPI, and I'm yet to have discussions with the town manager and the former town manager because of certain things that I couldn't find and still needs to be filled. Just a broad takeaway from some of the things that I was able to look at. There are 14 developments currently in the talking, 32 maintenance costs that the government has to bear, 82 capital that needs to be renewed not today or tomorrow, but in the next 10 to 15 years. And then there are 11 new capital acquisitions that have been added to the data I gathered, but there could be more, and obviously there will be more when we have more conversations. I'll just give you a glimpse of what my template is going to look like. I have consolidated here all the projects that Topsham has in store, broken it down into 4 categories: renewable capital, maintenance, developments, acquisition of new capital. The categories in other towns are a little different. This is what best suited Topsham, or this is what fit all the projects that I was able to consolidate. And what you see is what the project is, and by project I mean capital or development, whatever it is. What year was purchased, how long it's gonna last, when we technically need to renew it, but that is not binding. Like something like on paper, it's like it'll last 10 years, but it can definitely last 15. And it's really about how we prioritize these things. And that's a conversation for you guys, not for me. I've broken it down into a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan. 5-year plan are things that need to be addressed immediately. 10 years is what doesn't. And we break this down into the 5-year and then into the 10-year. And that's how I hope you guys work on it moving forward. The last project I worked on with Ashley, you want to come up as well. This was kind of inspired by how our experience here started. As Mark mentioned, we were going around town learning a lot. I was amazed by a lot of things. I was like, damn, this is crazy. And the town of Topsham has a lot of great things to offer. And I've only been here for 1.5 years, and now it's almost 2. And I was like, why are these things that I don't know? And I think the answer that we all kind of thought of was putting this information all in one place that you can access immediately. So we were like, let's make a tourism booster for the town. Yes, it's not the most exciting place in Maine, but it has great things to offer and people need to know about it. And that's what we're trying to solve. Additionally, I feel like this could be leading Topsham into gaining whatever it can from summer tourism, like not necessarily for the town, but for local businesses and folks in general. And also it could attract young people to move into Topsham. Objective, put the information in one place, make it as attractive and accessible as possible. Process, we had a lot of legwork that we had to do. We bugged Pam, our Parks and Recreational Director, a lot. I didn't vandalize her car, but we did some weird things in the car. But it was fun overall. We went to a lot of places in town. We took videos and pictures, and we put it on the town website, which I will show you. We both put a lot of effort into making write-ups. All the sources of those write-ups are also on the website if you want to do further extensive reading. But the website just generally points out what the place is, what you can do there, what you can't do there, and a location pin that will allow you to go there directly, because sometimes maps is confusing. We broke down the activities that you can do in Topsham into 4 categories. exploring the outdoors, sightseeing, recreational activities, and shopping and social. We don't promote any businesses in specific. We've linked the business directory that one of our previous interns from a previous year did in Topsham. I think his name was Evan, and he graduated last year. Just gonna show you what the website looks like. The video is yet to come, as Ashley mentioned during her presentation, and we have a space for that on the website. Once you click visit Topsham, this is what you will see. And then we have the 4 categories that we've broken it down into also on the screen. Yeah, so, there we go. When you click exploring the outdoors, it's going to take you to this landing page where it lists down all the trails that Topsham has to offer, some pictures for folks to see as well. When you click one of the trails, you'll see pictures of what the area looks like, entrance points. We didn't go inside every trail because that's going to take a lot of time, but we took some pictures of what the beginning and some of the middle looks like. And we have all the rules that you have to abide by once you go into these properties and the location. And that's what we've done for all the other things as well. And we've broken it down into 4. So yeah, that's kind of what we were up to. That's kind of what we did together. On a final note, do you want to add anything before I get to this? Sorry, I'm so sorry.
You should check it out. It's fun. There are lots of cute little photos and cute little biographies, and I think it's just fun to browse, so you should check it out.
On a final note, just wanna thank a lot of folks. Thank you so much to all the department heads for great tours, great mentorship. Special thank you to the folks I work very closely with. Our town manager and assistant town manager, great mentors and bosses. Very understanding, flexible, and also very insightful, great figures to look up to. Director of Parks and Rec, Pam, for taking us around town. Planning director, Sky and Josh, our town planner, for just like Ashley said, bringing such great energy into our office. Rose and Irene, who we had a lot of conversations with, loved having lunch with Irene. It was the best and highlight of my summer. Izzy and I were talking about a TikTok page, and we should direct the revenue and diversify through Irene. Something to think about, food for thought. And our supervisor Wendy and my fellow interns for making this a great experience. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer them as best as I can.
I have one question on your template.
Yeah.
Did you put a replacement cost estimate in there?
No, I have not. One more time. Replacement cost.
Replacement cost.
Well,
So
that would be the cost of the item, and that's what I have as cost. Like that's what you have to do once per year.
we've had issues with inflation, underestimating expenses. So
Yes. The values I've included are for 2024, and some of it's overestimated, some of it's not. The more immediate ones, the ones that we have to renew in the 5-year plan, are like current values. The ones that are supposed to go into the 10-year plan are a little like overestimated for inflation.
Yeah, because that would be huge.
Yeah.
I just want to say this. Is that we're always amazed at the creativity and energy that this brings to us, and tremendous value to it. This is really impressive. Best of luck with your future endeavors. Future.
Thank you very much.
That's it. Okay, great.
All right, next on the agenda, update from TDI. Andrew Sturgeon.
Good evening, Chair, board members, and staff, audience. My name is Andy Sturgeon. I'm Chair of Topsham Development Incorporated. Guess I'm not going to be the light of the evening. I was going to thank the interns at the resident. They did a great job. I had the opportunity to work with you. Mark putting me on, putting after those three. Thank you. I'm a 67-year-old person. Probably not really exciting. There's my PowerPoint here. Mark asked me to come up because I think some of the board members aren't really familiar with TDI and the others probably could use a refresher anyway. I can make it really simple first, and I think this will resonate more. What is TDI and TDI short? I can describe our roles and responsibilities in 3 words. The first one is awareness. One of the things that we need to be is aware of economic development opportunities in the community, and share those with the board and with the staff, with developers. The second word would be communication, is to get that word to developers and just communicate with the community and the town and potential developers. And then the third word would be guidance, to use some of our extensive knowledge and just history of what we've done, most of this board in our careers with the town and with potential developers. So in a nutshell, those 3 words describe what you really need to do. But to make it a little simpler, I've got the bylaws here. Thank you. Derek actually helped us, edit this and make some amendments to these bylaws. And the select board approved them, I think it was 50. So I just thought if you had a copy of these with you, you might later on tonight or some other day or next week, take a look at them in a little more detail, but I've highlighted in everyone's, just a couple of points that I wanted to make. One of them is our name is Topsham Development Incorporated. We're always known as TBI most of the time. The purpose of the corporation shall be to foster and support economic development within the town. I think I kind of described that a little bit in 3 words of our responsibilities and roles. Section 3A, this the next highlighted sentence is to develop an economic development strategic plan and present that plan to the select board for adopting. This is something that this current board isn't 100% sure was ever. We had an economic development director. We thought we did one, thought they did one a few years ago, but we haven't been able to find it. With me tonight, and he's going to present a little later on the infrastructure request that we have. Kurt is working on this strategic plan and has been for a few months. We're going to continue to work, and hopefully, I'll be 6 months maybe from now. We hope to be in front of you with a strategic plan to work with you on adopting that plan. The next item was to promote and market the town of Topsham as a community, especially its business community. To assist the town in supporting existing businesses, encouraging new investments, and attracting new business. Again, all the big roles that we play as a development arm of the town. On page 2, under membership, I noted this. I don't know that I ever even noticed it before, but the membership of the corporation is you. It's the select board. You are the members of this corporation. And on the next page, it does talk a little bit the makeup of the board of directors, the town manager, 9 to 11 representatives from the community, and then the Topsham Economic and Community Development Director, which is a vacant position now. Just for my last page, the current members are myself as chair, Peter Piccarello, the resident in Topsham, as vice chair. He's got a lot of experience in strategic planning and in real estate development. Newdell, who's behind me, he's been an engineer in this area for 25 years. I think you all probably know him anyway. He's the past chair. Brian Robinson is the treasurer. Chris Wozlowski is the secretary. He's involved in Acton Green's leadership. John Hodge with our,
That's another good word.
housing. Nate Cloutier, who's, a lobbyist for the hospitality industry. He, we used to have Curtis Picard, who's kind of retail, industry, and he just got off. Steve Pelletier, who's a local engineer, and he sits on the Department of Environmental Protection State. And Dan Cap, if you know Dan, he owns the Tontine Mall, he owns several buildings in Topsham Fair Mall, and as a local developer, he owns a lot across the street, 99 Main Street. So that's the makeup of the board. Then I just jumped to the last page just to show the Sixth Amendment date. That was the last date. This was amended February 1st. I did want to take a few moments just to talk about what we've done recently. One of the projects was the Moine report, being Ricky's database. And I know that Kurt, you did a presentation of the Moine report to the select board about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. Seems like time's flying. But that was a report to what is the economic standing of Topsham? What do we need? In the report, it had housing units that we needed, certain areas of the community that that were suggested be developed. It looked at a lot of the needs and wants of Topsham. But it was a report that kind of gave us an idea of where we stood, and what we needed. Again, that was a little bit in the middle. If anything, I think the numbers on housing were low in that report. We looked at it again. Another thing that we recently did was we funded a complete as-built survey of the Topsham Fair Mall Road from the intersection of 196 all the way through the market basket is today. I think we even extended it to street. The reason we did that is there's a lot of things that are going to come up in the next few years to do with the Topsham Fair Mall. It needs some improvements, the traffic flow, and we really didn't know where our boundaries were, what they included. And if, say, for example, if we needed to put a traffic circle at the intersection park and the Topsham Fair Mall, what do we really own? Do we have enough ownership already to have circle? We need to negotiate and purchase some land rights and budding owners. So that as-built survey was completed last fall and gives us a good database for future plans for the Topsham Fair Mall. Another function that TEI can play and has played is if there's an opportunity, say there's some infrastructure being expanded by water, sewer, by the town, and their job was complete, but it made more sense to take the next step. And it might be another $25,000 or $40,000, and if the construction company was right there on that job, to get the town to approve and go through the process, approve that next phase might take several weeks or it could take a couple of months. TDI can act pretty quick. We can, under 25,000, we can pretty much, that's the board would like. Anything over 25, we come to you. But we come to you first. I mean, it's just that we can get it done so much quicker, lend the money to the town or to pay the contractor and then get reimbursed later on. Just in some cases, you'll save a lot of money. That's all I had for a summary, just an update of what TDI is and what we've been doing. I want to answer any questions, and Kurt's here too, and be up and items later.
I have a question. I was one of the people that kind of was asking about getting updated, looking to get information on what the committees are doing. I spent a lot of time trying to attend as many as I can, neglectfully not as many of the TDIs I would like to have. The data that you guys collect, where do you typically get that data?
We hire a consultant.
You hire a consultant. Ricky did a great job.
He did.
His points of data collection, I did notice that economic development or economic growth was really low as far as how much debt collected over time compared to the other areas. Is that indicative of just not needing it? Or is it more that suggests that we have a plan that's too long term that we have yet to put in play?
I think a little bit of it had to do with. I mean, if it had the first word economic, he probably put those two reports in there. Whereas the other reports might have been economically development advantageous, and parts of those reports were economic. They weren't put in. And the other thing you find is if you do a report or an economic study 7, 8, 10 years ago, it's a different world 10 years ago. Yeah. I sit on the CPIC committee too, Comprehensive Plan Implementation Committee. That's the 2019 comprehensive plans, 2024. We're getting ready to implement that. Not unusual. I don't mean it in a bad way. It takes a lot of time to go through those processes to implement what was decided and encouraged by the members in the community during that. So I don't think there's a lack of data. I don't think we missed anything. We are talking about, I don't know if I can mention, maybe having a presentation dual maybe to the select board and to TDI. We were just thinking on where do I just exist today? What area how much do we have left? How much do we use just to get up to date on what tip opportunities, tax financing opportunities for future developers. We've got some big parcels that are going to come up with development over the next few years, right at the intersection of exit 31. We get sewer and water on the west side. It opens up a lot of land for, some type of left it as a community. We'll have to on. If we can move the Brooker asphalt plant someday, that will open up to people there too. And those two parcels identified in the point, we need to be cognizant of what can we do with those in the future.
Has there been any study done on the pace at which the growth should happen or can happen, and whether or not we can, I don't want to say sustain that growth, but the growth seems to be happening quickly. And I know, for example, Danny Catlin mentioned to us, Market Basket took 6 years from the beginning of the conversation to implementation.
Right.
There's got to be conversations going on now that are going to be implemented down the road, like moving across. Is part of that planning also the consideration of the pace at which that development is? A
lot of that, and it's going to be up here in a couple of agenda items, is going to be tied into the infrastructure. Our pace is going to be determined by that improvement of infrastructure that we have. So if, for example, if you say no tonight, I think you should fund that study to put the sewer and water on the west side of 295. That's going to give direction that's going to just shut everything off over there. There's not really much you can do without sewer and water, especially, commercial property where you have system. So you have to have water. But what people don't realize in this study too is there's a lot of pump stations on this side that need improvements to be able to even handle a little bit more development, even on the east side. So if Crooker moved out of there and we said, let's develop the Crooker quadrant, we're still going to be short of infrastructure there. A lot of improvements. Now those improvements can be funded several different ways. It doesn't have to be by 100% by the developer. It can be federal, it can be state, it can be community, it certainly can be, probably the most part, by the developer. So that pace is hard to predict. I mean, I think we're moving slow, but I've been in the development world my whole life. I think there's a lot of opportunity in Topsham to grow. I'd like to see that, and I think it's going to be a steady growth. It's not going to be a huge spurt because you just don't. If we had all the infrastructure in place that was sitting there today, then we have the lack of infrastructure is going to dictate that pace.
And that's part of the reason that I was curious about it. Housing has gone up in Topsham, and housing availability new developments, there's 14 of them going in, but those house prices are pretty expensive. Depending on what we develop and what we turn it into, what kind of jobs those are creating. Does that allow those people to live in our town, or are they gonna have to, is Market Basket still looking for people to work there because they haven't fully staffed the place,
Coincidentally, I'll share with you today, I wasn't planning tonight, but I've been working, I was in Augusta most of the day today. I've been working in the housing market quite a bit in the last few months. We're looking at a model where we're gonna offer a lot of homes in Topsham. Certainly, we'll have an opportunity to have a bunch of these, but they're gonna be homes that are gonna start at 800 square feet. For example, it might be a cape in a small lot, 100 by 200 foot lot, cape with a finished first floor. So you've got 2 bedrooms, bathroom, a living room, and kitchen. Second floor is not gonna be finished. That's gonna have to be finished as the buyer, the young professional gets in that window somewhere under $300,000. Hopefully even the 260 or 270 or 280 range. It depends on a lot of factors. But these are homes that are going to be produced in a warehouse environment. They're stick built, but they're going to be all built in all would be like 3 or 4 different models in these subdivisions. And again, this is some money from the state. I'm working with some legislators in Augusta, and the numbers are starting to look good. We'll know in probably 2 or 3 months. We pull this off. Sanford, maybe some other areas. The thing is to get these, to have a homeless. Or, I mean, if you, husband and wife making $150,000 a year, which is a lot of money, it's still hard to own it. It's still hard to get a $400,000 home. And the average, state average is now 400,000. I think Saginaw County is maybe more than that range. That's the average.
I guess that's my big concern too, because developing on the west side, I'm with you guys, I'd love to see that happen too. I just worry about the amount of jobs that's gonna create and whether or not those places, if those jobs aren't looking like $150,000 couples, if those are minimum wage person that lives by themselves, or even a young couple, 300,000. That's starter homes. There's just no way for it. So building those it's still first time home buyers, but it's not really affordable to what we may develop. I don't know what's gonna go over there. I just know that it's a lot of space and that's gonna provide for a lot. And if we have to move into our rural part to help the increase of housing, what does that look like to our rural parts of town?
I don't see it happening in an R3 zone. I see this type of development happening in an R2 zone. Maybe even if it was a piece large enough, a dozen homes or 15 homes in R1s. I don't know how many lots are available. Just reminds me, we did do an inventory of available lots, vacant lots in Topsham, and we did the database of those. I don't remember if you get that in. If not, I'll check with it. No, it's not right. It's just too spread out. It just doesn't make sense from a cost standpoint to building the roads for subdivision or all. Individual septics and walls are free. You've got to have some kind of, you either got to have town sewer and water, or you've got community septic system. You serve a dozen homes. You've got to get that cost, yet you've got to have, you've got to have something that's got quality to it too. You just can't. Falls apart. You go back in the 50s and you compare government housing construction in the 50s to the construction of the day, it was pretty bad. I mean, yeah, they got people in homes. Not very well built. And in the 50s and 60s, a person's salary could easily handle an average home, if not above average. And that's the way the salary was with the housing in that generation. In those decades now, it's scary.
It is, and I appreciate the conversation, and I'm sorry for the amount of questions. Just going through a lot of the documents for the select board. One of the biggest things that we're charged with is we're the overseers of the poor in Topsham, and to consider what would that look like, and is that affordable? Just the development rate at which we go. I don't know the answers to. You know, I know that, and it's hard to predict that kind of data, but we're a growing community for sure. And we have a very sweet spot in our location with, we're a central hub to basically the four biggest cities and the biggest employers and the highest paying jobs. But only 10% of our residents actually work in town. We go everywhere else. And if we bring all of these things to our town, eventually people are gonna have to live here that work in here because, you know, you can go find a minimum wage job in your own hometown, and people tend to do that and not have to spend gas money to come this way.
If you go to Augusta and you read the paper sometime and you just listen to the media, a lot of people will say, well, you can afford home, affordable home is one that's 110% above the average wage of that county, and that's considered affordable. We ran that number today, that number showed that people could afford homes to 375. I disagree. I don't care how you run those numbers. The average person. 375. It's just, I don't think we have those wages. Wage data is correct. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, that's the imperfect piece of the data with economic development, that we don't have the accurate depiction of, you know, what if it's a great space for industrial right off the highway, you know, what if we got a trucking business or something to sit over there? You still, you know, those wages over there are not gonna be very big, but they gotta live somewhere. That's the hard development, and that's just coming from me. I'm not a professional. I'm not into that, but I do know those are the conversations that I have with our community and things that I think about. And, you know, you don't know what you don't know.
Well, I guess my point is, people are working hard on this, trying to come up with a solution. Oh, hard in the background, and I think something will come up. We have to.
Yeah, and I think you guys do a great job. My curiosity has really got to me, and
I want to see a conference center and hotel right over here and one of the good places, and yeah, one where we could have events in the community from around the state. And it's a prime spot, and not to mention it generates some dollars. So a lot more to come.
well, thank you so much for answering those
Any
questions.
other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Public comment. Everything online?
Anyone online, Jeff, for public?
Now, there's one person online, but
Correspondence, we've got a couple. Did we get this one?
I have one.
We'll get that one table.
We received a letter in our mailboxes from Higher Living Cannabis Company. The letter is actually dated November 3rd, 2022, but it was received on June 27th, 2024. And they were wanting us to look at Maine adult use cannabis program. We had a similar request, and on June 20th, our meeting this year, we decided that we wanted to revisit this topic in June of 2025, pending any possible federal regulations that were going to be coming up. So I would recommend that the town manager reply to this letter on our behalf and just let them know. You can do that?
Yeah,
Thoughts, anyone?
adjustments to the consent calendar. Approval of the minutes of the regular select board meeting, July 11th, 2024, and then we have a updated copy of the minutes, a second draft. So we have a motion on
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the July 11th, 2024, identified as second draft.
Second,
that. Moved by Ann, seconded by Ryan. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously. All right, public hearing, 2459. We are going to table this into the August 15th meeting. Questions are not just today, I guess. It needs some additional work, so we're going to table.
Do you need a motion to table? You need a motion?
We should.
We have a motion to that.
I make a motion that we table the discussion about the balloon blow and laser show until the August 15th meeting.
Moving in second, all in favor of the motion? Unanimous.
And just in case they didn't hear from the public for the hearing, the reason for the tabling is the promoters are thinking they may not be gonna have the event due to the Auburn balloon thing now going on. So they're gonna get back to us.
On to new business, 24-6, consideration and any appropriate action to support TDI's expenditure $65,000 to retain Wright Pierce to update a study on the work cost involved with extending water and sewer west of I-295.
Good evening, Kurt Newfeld of TDI, and I couldn't have asked for a more extensive introduction to this request. One of the compelling reasons here is as we look to put together that economic priorities or strategic plan that we present to the select board and realize we don't necessarily have one. Well, what should that include? And certainly the areas that are ripe for development and are across the highway should the quicker company relocate quadrant, and a lot of work in the comprehensive implementation committee has been looking at zoning and how that. And also, I know from having been in the area for quite a while that the area between middle school and Cannon Drive going up into the highlands there. It's an area that could be redeveloped or further developed for housing. It's one of the highest density residential zones in the town. And it's got this short private road that doesn't have the right utilities in it, for all that to happen. We had many conferences and with developers and water and the sewer district. Even had everybody here in this one room trying to figure it out because Mirrors owns the water system and they don't want it sold. Anyway, all three of those areas have been studied at some, and particularly looking across the interstate, those reports go back to 2004, 2005. And even though Wright Pierce did a really good job at the time identifying the service areas and access considerations and power and other utility considerations 20 years ago, the numbers are out of date. I can't tell you the number of meetings I've been in where the idea of doing something across the highway comes up again and what's required. And then you kind of get to know what is required. How much does that cost? Well, let's watch. There's no answers. It's tough. So I approached Wright Pierce to update that, and they're not going to completely replace their 2004, 2005 studies. Good information. They would update the cost estimates for all the infrastructure, re-examine the routes to get under the highway, and also take a look at service area again. So if there's any changes to preliminary recommendations on the pump stations, they should do that. But also, I want to take that report and some additional work when we pull this whole thing together, break out actionable items that can, TDI can spearhead. We can work with the town staff. So if there is a pump station, and this is the obvious place to put it, do we need access rights? We need a town need access rights and buy an easement. In order to get access to some of these areas, we need right of way. So it's not going to be just another report of it's going to cost $3 million to get water and sewer. It's going to be a report that says it costs $3 million. Oh, and by the way, in order to do that, you do actually have to upgrade something over here on Main Street. There's a cost for that. And here's some priorities. And the town could, in any given year, maybe they have to do some geotechnical work to understand better getting the water and sewer. I really want to get it down to more granular, so that when we come back on an annual basis, or even more frequent, we talk about what can be done next. And when John Shattuck was in the town, he was the town's economic director, development director. He had worked with the select board. The town had graciously given TDI some funds that we were able to act on should something like the head of type park opportunity came up, or Andy mentioned we could quickly secure the purchase of a piece of land. The money, doing our best job, be good stewards with it, CDs and earning as much interest as humanly possible, but it's still there. I think hiring consultants that know more than anybody, even on TDI, these things would be done. Would be a good path forward. We went to Wright Pierce because they have a work history of this. If they didn't have so much back, we might be looking at a bidding scenario. Future reports would look at. They came back with a good scope of work. We talked it over in our group. One of the things we said was, you know, this report would probably be a benefit to the water and the sewer district. So to the water and sewer district, and I had conversations with the staff and the board. They both agreed to be $5,000 towards the report. We're trying to be good stewards of the town's money. I think $65,000 is a good fee for what we're going to demand that they produce at the end of this. It's really going to look at 196 all the way up to Meadowcross Road. We're going to look at, there are some water and sewer utilities in the area where Kirker is, but there's certainly not on be there if and when that gets redeveloped. And then again, looking at the Cannon Drive from the old Navy Annex area, because it's well understood that there's some pressure problems over there. Excuse me. And developing that area is just going to require a certain amount of work. So like I said, once we get those cost estimates updated, to be able to talk to the landowners. So, that's the long and short of what we're here tonight. I'd be happy to answer questions on this report. You know, asking Wright Pierce to do for the larger report. We'll hopefully be back here, like you said, in about 6 months.
Just for clarification purpose, with the data that I've read, the 5,000 from the water district and the 5,000 from the sewer district are in addition to your 65,000. So it's actually 75,000 for Wright Pierce. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, so the town's portion would be the 60.
Okay, any other questions?
Um,
Anything? Okay. I will look for a motion to support this item.
I make a motion that we permit the TDI expenditure of $65,000 to retain Wright Pierce, with the understanding that 10,000 coming from elsewhere, to update a study on the work cost involved with the extended water and sewer west of 295, which also includes the Crooker parcel, Cannon Drive, and the old Navy Annex areas.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Moved by Ann, seconded by Marie. All in favor?
Can I ask a question out of order?
Yeah.
When would the scope of this work begin?
I'm gonna sign their authorization like tomorrow. So, it is our goal that we would have all their data.
At the end of this year to
Yes.
report back on what they found as soon as, and this is just a report of what's the possibilities of all of these areas. With the intent to move forward after that, potentially.
We can share that report on an interim basis. I can work with, town, the rest of the TIA board. Yes, I also want to look at the traffic access considerations. If the 100 acres that make up most of the area on the west side of the interstate, that becomes available to only have one point of access, which is off of 196. Just in order to get that is understood and probably preliminary design. Because I know people, I get calls from people who want to go develop. Tell them, well, we have to do a certain amount of studies, right? So I want to remove those barriers. So between that and up on 201, so then become redeveloped. The road would go from 196, it's also Fairwell Road to 201. It'll be a major intersection for whatever is expected to go in there. So I think that
town. Yeah. Really needs to have an idea and public works input. What's that gonna require? For that intersection to happen, that can, the town and TDI on behalf of the town advance that knowledge. So it'll be the utilities, but the final report that we're looking to submit would include some discussion around traffic and any other considerations for those most valuable development.
And the developers that are knocking down doors, they don't wanna knock the doors down hard enough to pay for this.
But again, I come back to the question, Ryan, about how much.
Yeah.
We had this whole, 20 years ago, it would have cost this. And so.
But yeah, it's spending the money now and then, we had one 20 years ago and updating it now. We don't act upon it in the next 20 years. Are we wasting our money here? Or are we looking to move faster than that? If developers really are interested.
Since the MUC one zone was rezoned 15, 16 years ago, there haven't been anybody knocking. And even with the interest rates and the cost of materials, people are knocking. So my sense of it is the environment that's right for something. And if we don't do it now, even if 20 years gets by again, we'll still be operating on better data. It's kind of like the report that Camoin did. Report that Camoin did asked about the capacity of our town to add housing and what the projections would that be, housing and service industry or office space. Because we always talk about which we attract to Topsham. Well, maybe we should get some more medical offices. How much of that could be? So that's what that would absorb. We're trying to get the questions better framed. Then we have to wait for somebody to come to town. I think we almost missed the boat. With Market Basket to come to town, and we had all this information available. That's the sort of business with a deep enough pocket. That I said, rather be closer to the highway interchange with it. And that, but without the knowledge, without the information, ready to have a discussion with the large entity.
That's all, thank you.
Okay, so motion is second. All in favor? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, item 2461, consideration of any appropriate action to partner Maine game wardens by accepting a multi-jurisdictional ATV enforcement grant. Chief.
Good evening, Mark Hagan, Chief of Police. I should start by saying that the gentleman from the workplace safety that presented that award urged me not to get into any inflatable bounce houses. Said that'd be a horrible idea for the town, so that done, we'll move on. So we would like to work with the Maine Game Warden Service on another grant. You may recall I came here a couple months ago. We wanted to apply for a small grant, which you authorized. We did for the Warden Service. We applied for it. We worked with them, did a few details earlier in the spring. That grant just expired July 31st. So they came back to us, wanted to work with us again. They actually have already applied for this grant and received the award. There was a timetable thing. It's a non-matching grant, so they've already received it for $4,000. This grant would run from today till December 15th. They'd like to work with us again. And I'm basically here to ask you all to give us permission to again have the opportunity to work with them. Basically, what we tried to do was enforcement education details. We only got a few in due to the fact that the warden service is short-staffed and we are also short-staffed. And it's summer, so people are trying to take their vacations. So we did get a few in and we had the opportunity to, by luck or whatever, they ran into some ATVers and did provide some education, no enforcement for some violations that they saw. So we'd like to give it another shot this fall, and they're just looking for your permission to partner. Again, it's a non-matching, nothing for the town. The service is actually taking care of all.
Any questions? I'll look for a motion.
I would make a motion that we the partnership with the Maine game wardens by accepting, the ATV enforcement grant.
Motion, there's a second.
Second,
Second, again, all in favor of the motion? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Item 2462, consideration of any appropriate action to approve a detour traffic plan on Main Street near Monument Drive.
Good evening, Dennis Cox, Cops of Public Works. I believe on Zoom meeting, Jeremy Ward is also available. The purpose of this tonight is to go over a detour plan that's proposed because of the install of water and sewer to the property across the street from the town of 99 Main Street. The town has planned since 2021 to pave this section of Main Street. We did the far side of Main Street going up past Napa back in 21. Off on this side because of the development of the Roma Joe's was coming along. We waited a year or two, hoping to get that done this year. And having learned that, the developer across the street would like to get this service into his property before we pave the road because of the 3-year moratorium that person paid. To do that work, in your handout, I included pictures, sketches there from the developer and from the contractor, both of phase 1 and a phase 2. Phase 1 would be done on a Sunday evening, scheduled right now for August 11th, weather permitting. That's to really dig 2/3 of the way across Main Street from 99 Main Street side. Because the water line is on the town office side, of Main Street. 2/3 of the way across the road to tap into the main. And so they're proposing to do that in the nighttime of Sunday, August 11th. Their sketch shows the layout for detour and traffic, flagger setup. They're doing it at night. Sunday night's really a minimal amount of traffic in Topsham. So it's really an ideal time for that work to be done as far as traffic versus 3 o'clock on a school afternoon. And the alternative would be so we're here to ask you for approval of phase 1. Phase 2 would happen really 2 days later. Phase 1 would happen Sunday night and go into Monday morning. Monday morning, the plan would be is to pave that utility cut from the curb line on 99 side out 2/3 of the way across Main Street, get that paved in and done. The contractor would take a day or two off, come back Wednesday to do the connection to the sewer, the sanitary sewer, which is only really in the curb lane of Main Street in the northerly direction. So we're only detouring the traffic. North and southbound traffic will be detoured, but it doesn't have to be drastic like it is only 2/3 of the way across Main Street.
I have a couple questions. I'm not sure I'm clear on something, so I just want to ask.
Jeremy
So-
worked with the contractor, he's on.
So my question is, the reference was to the property across the street from here, is that correct? Does he actually have a plan to build something or do something, or he just wants this done in case he does something so that there's not a 3-year moratorium?
Jeremy, can you answer that question maybe easier than I can? How does that work?
He has to give him
Just let them
permission.
unmute.
How about now? Is that better?
We're good.
Yes, sir.
All right. So there's no definitive plan at this time. There's a couple of sketches that's in progress at this point. However, yes, in the development phase, they do not want to be limited with moratorium from the road. So that's the purpose of getting this installed now and getting it over to the past the curb line.
The property owner and Jeremy met with representatives of our planning department, fire chief and public works. And they understand they're taking a risk by putting this in. Their eventual planning board approves. They might have rather put them in a different location. They're gonna have to deal with what they put in. Jeremy Ward. So they know they're putting him in this location. They have to make whatever plan they propose work with it. And it's gonna be their issue if it doesn't. The town has made no representations to them that they're gonna have any particular, and they haven't presented the plan, the application to to the planning department.
It just seems like maybe the cart is before the horse. I was just wondering, but if the town is recommending you move forward with this because you want to get this section done, trucks, then, you know, I'm okay with that. I'm just wanting to know what's driving this.
I think what's driving it is they're getting close. They had a, well, back our town meeting, one of the items on the zoning code changes was because they had a concept plan that they wanted to try to put 3 apartment buildings on that lot. But we have a maximum setback so that you couldn't have a building more than 100 feet from the street. So that their plan wouldn't have worked because they could have done the front building, they couldn't have done the back. So one of the changes the town meeting allows you to have the mass of buildings evaluated as a whole. So at least one has to be the distance from the street, but not all 3. That was because they had gotten pretty far down the thing, they were getting ready, but they didn't actually propose it because they're like, it's gonna get rejected. They're not trying to do affordable housing in the sense of subsidized housing but they are trying to make it not an unaffordable market rate housing. To do that, they need a lot of units. So what they're thinking of now, they still may try to do 3 buildings, parking, say, underneath. They're talking to the post office ownership, the building there, about potentially trying to have 1 single driveway so that you don't have people coming out of that lot, conflicting with people at the post office. A lot of things they're trying to work out, but they think they're gonna get them worked out enough to make a proposal, say, in the next 6 months. They don't want to have to wait 3 years, which they would have to do if we pave the road without them getting their stuff in. So they'd like to get their the utilities there aren't good enough that they could do it 3 apartment buildings, they're not big enough capacity. They'd like to get things in so that they've still got the opportunity to come up with a plan, but they understand whatever plan they propose now is gonna have to deal with these locations. Jeremy, did I say that accurately? Did your understanding of things?
It sounds very accurate to me, yes, because I can't speak for the developer, for sure, but, after our meeting, that was the consensus that I had as well.
Thank you very much. I really appreciated the input because, you know, we do need affordable housing here in Topsham, and that's important as well. I just wondered what the tentative plan was or where we were going. It just seemed like this is a what if situation, but, you know, eventually we need to do it all in this area anyway. So thank you, Mr. Ross.
And I understand the question. I'm on the same page, and that's why I asked Jeremy to answer it. But bottom line is it does put full services to that property, really for future development, no matter what. Still needing services.
And when are you paving Main Street?
This fall.
This fall?
This fall.
I see they're raised the sewer rates.
Yeah, we were on target to have it paid by now, actually. But time when the developer came to us, brought it to our attention, and we want to work with Dan if we can, Mr. Kemp. So work with him and hold on. A few weeks is minimum amount of time compared to the difference of 3 years with him.
Yeah.
So I'd like to work with him.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion.
I would move to approve a detour traffic plan on Main Street near Monument as depicted in the phase 1 and phase 2 pictures.
Motion, second.
Seconded.
Moved by Ryan, seconded by Ian, all in favor? Motion carries, thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Did put a date in it. Do we need a date for that detour, or is that just a blanket?
That was all included in the plan.
Cool.
Okay, 2463, consideration of any appropriate action to allow the finance office and the town's ambulance billing contractor to write off the balance of accounts receivable from the service year ending June 30th, 2021 and prior in the amount of $51,938.03.
Yeah, this is just something that I come to you every year. We're trying to keep on a schedule where we're writing off essentially useless receivables once a year, keep the allowance small. Make sure that the receivable reflects what we can actually collect. All I got.
Questions?
I don't have any questions.
Okay, entertain a motion.
I move to write off the balance of, actually, do we need to give permission to do that or just move to write it off?
Just
You right.
Okay, so I would move to write off the balance of receivable from from the service year ending in June 30th, 2021, and the amount of $51,958.03.
We have a second?
Second.
Seconded, all in favor of the motion? Thank you.
Thank you.
2464, consideration and any appropriate action to appoint Jacqueline Cressy to the Topsom Energy Committee and Matthew Coughlin to the Bike and Pedestrian Committee. So tonight, there were interviews held. Any comments from the group in terms of?
Both of the candidates were enthusiastic about their membership onto these committees. I can say that Matthew Coughlin is right here. Just wave to everyone. He sat through. I make a motion that we Jacqueline Cressy to the Topsom Energy Committee and Matthew Coughlin to the Bike and Pedestrian Committee.
Second. Yeah. Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Welcome aboard.
Yes. Interesting. All right, 2465, consideration and any appropriate action to vote for Justin Poirier as Maine Municipal Association Vice President, David Sear, Michelle Barula Cole, and Matthew Garside to serve on the Maine Municipal Association Executive Committee.
You get sent a ballot by the Maine Municipal Association. There isn't the ability to write in candidates, so it's this or no one. You can choose to support the recommended people.
No, we don't want to vote.
Like the corporate board of
I
directors.
found it interesting that Mr. Sear and Michelle Cole are both on the select boards in Bethel, Maine. So there's two select board members from Bethel on this nomination. One from Monmouth and one from Poland. But this is just a slate presented to us. I just make a motion that we accept the slate as presented.
Second.
Second.
Second, all in favor? And 2466, consideration and any appropriate action to sell the 2006 Mazda for the sum of $350. Dave Junkin.
So we thought we were selling this car at the last meeting for $500 to,
Like, you sure?
So now it's into the junkyard.
so we set Ed Karen on and Ed called his junk connections and Ed, I think I might have had the wrong name of the junkyard in the memo, but the right name is Dave's Junkyard. Dave's Junkyard said that if Ed got it there, they would pay us $350 for it. And Ed has access to a trailer, so the chief doesn't have to worry that it's gonna let me drive it down the road, but we'll get to the junkyard and get $350.
It's like off-hour transportation or something.
Don't say that from the chief, unless he's busy in his bouncy house.
You have a motion.
Sure, I make a motion that we sell the 2006 Mazda for the sum of $350 to Dave's Junkyard.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Give to
Thank you. For the price change.
Okay,
And now to end this official meeting, I make a motion to adjourn.
seconded. Thanks, everyone.
Dennis, you stick around for that? The whole meeting?